What's going on, my broskies? My name is Toadskii, back again, here to bring you guys yet another One Piece Treasure Cruise video. And in today's video, we're here with another tier list video, this time around taking a look at the characters for the month heading into April 2022. So with this month, of course this is last month's tier list that we're going to go ahead and have a look at. We had a few new characters that had been released. We had Izo and Okiku, which debuted with the Treasure Map Sugo Fest. We also had the brand new Franky and V2 Brook, which we'll be talking about in this video today. And as of the recording of this video, this is the day prior to Eurog's release, but I feel like, considering the nature of the character, I think we should be able to place him in this tier list. It'd be better just to do it now, considering, you know, by the time this tier list video goes out, the Sugo Fest is about to release, and I feel like it would be appropriate to include him in this list here. But let's go ahead and talk about all of these characters. We'll have a look at some of the old characters, place them in different tiers that they kind of deserve to be in, and then we'll have a look at the old characters, injecting them into the brand new tier list here today. But of course, before we get into the tier list, we need to talk about my own personal criteria. So first of which is going to be the power of the unit. How much damage is this particular unit outputting, which is good, very, very important. How fast are they at clearing that said content, and how reliable are they at clearing that content? Is there content in the game that that character is incapable of clearing due to the structure and the development of that unit? And also, how usable and versatile is that unit as well? Is this a type of unit that can be injected into multiple different types of teams? Because if that is the case, then that's going to be very, very useful and very important for making that character just seem more useful in the grand scheme of One Piece Treasure Cruise. If a character can be put on lots of different teams, it means that lots of other units are going to benefit from that, which overall, in my opinion, increases the value of the unit, which is why I personally think Luffy and the Straw Hats are the best character in the game, because they basically make every other unit in the game just better, because any unit that has a restricted special that only works for certain classes and colors, when you use Luffy and the Straw Hats, even as a friend captain, it can work for everyone, which is just insane. Of course, we can't go past their final tap. I still think, to this day, Luffy and the Straw Hats is the best character in the game. But let's go ahead and have a look at some of these other tiers and see if we want to make any changes. So looking at the bottom of the list here in tier 5, I mean, a lot of these characters are just not really used that often anymore. Like, I'm honestly tempted just to dump this whole tier, because while there are some characters in here that do see just some common play, like Rayleigh, for example. V1 Rayleigh is still very good. Tesoro sees a little bit of niche usage. Sometimes Corazon. Garp has a great support and a pretty good special, but not every character here sees a lot of play. I mean, I guess you can say that about tier 4 as well. Not a lot of characters really see a lot of play here. And I mean, to be honest, I don't really think any of these characters in particular deserve to be bumped up. Of course, Franky has a bit of a niche situation in the fact that he enables you to get around a certain debuff in the game, the damage limiter, and he's the only character that can bypass that. So I feel like V1 Franky just has a very unique place in One Piece Treasure Cruise right now, because while his numbers are very underwhelming, when you hybrid him up with other characters, it's not really going to be that big of an issue, just because he just innately now allows you to go past that really annoying debuff there. But as for the other characters here, I don't think there really were any increases of usage for any of these particular units throughout the month. I know that Jack is seeing a bit of usage currently because of the EXP farming that everyone wants to do. You know, for each level 1000, you get up to 100 free legend tickets, which is obviously very exciting, but, you know, realistically, he's not like a good unit. He provides some kind of, you know, usage in the game, but he's not that good. He's just kind of nice and kind of needed if you want to farm EXP. So moving up to tier 3 though, we've got some of the other characters here. Like this Katakuri, he really is dropping in usage heavily just because of the release of Halloween Peruna. Just basically makes Katakuri borderline useless. I mean, I do like the fact that at least Katakuri has some different classes. The fact that he's a fighter driven, whereas Peruna is a free spirit and shooter. So the fact that they do have different classes means that in certain situations, yeah, one may be better than the other, but as of right now, Peruna is just the straight up better version of Katakuri, unfortunately, because you don't even have to use Peruna as a captain to get the guaranteed conditional boost, which is really good, and enabling you to buff your chain locking effects, which includes chain boundary as well. Unparalleled. Then the other characters here, I mean, Arlong Crew is very niche, kind of good though. Doflamingo, honestly, I want to bump him down as well, because while he is, like, okay, Mono Driven is just kind of average, at least in my opinion. I'm not a big fan of Mono Driven, never have been, to be honest. So I don't really want to rank him that high, because, I mean, Superclass Doflamingo is just better. in my opinion. He provides a lot more to your team than what this Doflamingo can do. I mean, especially as a captain, Superclass Doflamingo resisting special bind is redonky donk. And then you've also got the special of Doflamingo, which can just do way more than what this Dofi can. You know, if normal attacks only never existed, this character probably would still be one of the best units in the game. I still like Pudding though. Pudding's a really, really good character. Sweet Command is obviously really good support. Crack is still pretty solid. Moving up to tier 2 though, I think a lot of people really disagree with the fact that I have like Final Tap Luffy in tier 2. But I mean, I used him in the Kizuna recently, and he just feels so average to use. I'm not a big fan of this character in general. He's just so boring. Even his Final Tap is boring. Like giving himself an extra 1000 base attack and giving him a Wano slot. Like I have my Luffy at Final Tap level 5, and it's just so underwhelming to use this character. I'm just not the biggest fan of this unit, unfortunately. Hopefully we get more Final Taps, not in the same level as Luffy and the Straw Hats, because that Final Tap is just like whole different levels of broken. I hope they don't really tread in that territory too much, but you know, types of effects that can benefit your team that don't really rely on you having to attack with type advantage, because with Final Tap, they have to be the final character to attack, obviously. And Luffy being a quick character, in a lot of situations, you don't want to attack with him last, especially if you're up against like a Dex enemy, for example. But when it's a Psy or an Int character, it makes it a little bit better, I suppose. And also the fact that, you know, Luffy and the Straw Hats, they just benefit your whole team, giving you just more damage just in general. It doesn't matter if Luffy and the Straw Hats do damage or not, which is just pretty crazy. I do think Halloween Boa Hancock is pretty good. I did use her a little bit throughout the month of March, and she's actually kind of surprising me. She's actually pretty good. I don't like her super type though. Her super type special is pretty bad. It might be one of the worst super type specials in the game, to be honest. It's just a really bad effect. So I don't like that, but the special itself is just so nuts. I do want to bump her up a little bit. I did use Zora a little bit throughout the month as well. The Robin and Jinbei, also very good special ability there. We've also got Boa Hancock here as well. I kind of want to maybe bump her down, but her super type special is like so broken. That's the thing, right? Is like the special of this Boa is nuts, and then the special of the super type Boa Hancock is like pretty average. But then when you swap it around and you look at their super types, it's like, yeah, well, this Boa's super type is just insane, and then this one is not very good. So unfortunately, it is what it is. Would have been nice if you could like jam up both of them together, where you have the special of the Halloween Boa Hancock, but then you have the super type of the Summer Boa Hancock. Dude, it would be just an insanely good legend. I really hope that that happens at some point, but you know, it just wasn't meant to be. As for these like a group of int legends, I do think Law and Mihawk are the better of all of these. I think Marker probably is up there as well. I just didn't really use a lot of Bonnie throughout the month. I used these three a little bit throughout the month. Bonnie not so much. Germa and Sanji still pretty good. This Koala is okay. I kind of want to bump her down a little bit. Like, I would much rather use these two characters over Koala. Unfortunately, I didn't pull Carrot and Wanda yet, so I haven't had a lot of opportunities to use them. The only time I really have used them was during the treasure map that they released for, so I don't really have too much to say about them. I don't like their structure of their unit design, to be honest. I think it's really, really poor design. I know that they have a really good special, and their special is very, very good, but not a fan of their captain, not a fan of their switch effect. They have some key supports though, which is kind of nice. And then the units down here at the bottom of tier 2, like Stampede Luffy, we got Halloween Ace as well. Like these two units, I hope that they get 6+ this year, because these two units with 6+, they could be incredible, because the main reason is why these characters are still so high considering their age is their utility in their captain effect. You've got Luffy being a paralysis and a despair remover, and then you've got Ace resisting special bind and special reverse. And if you just like buff their numbers in a sense and make them more modernized, you know, more like a 2022 unit, these units literally could be borderline broken, depending on how they structure their 6+. But let's bump up to tier 1. With the characters here, I mean, there are a lot of characters here that I really didn't get a chance to use. Like Katakuri, I think I want to bump him down a little bit. He has good numbers, of course, but being mono powerhouse is a bit of a drawback. And if you are running mono powerhouse, Katakuri typically is not the character that you're using for that team. What else do we have here, though? We got like this Kaido. I did use him throughout the month. He was alright. We got Carrot and Sober Mask, for example. We got Dog dog and cat, still pretty good. Wano Law is still amazing. I think this Kaido, I want to bump him down a little bit. I'm going to bump him down to about here. I think I'm going to put Lucci a little bit higher. The ulti page 1, I didn't get a chance to use them in the latest Kizuna clash because it was a little bit hard for me to structure and put that in my team. But if you're able to utilize ulti page 1, the fact that you can get that guaranteed conditional and chain boundary as well. Also, I did use King a little bit in this month as well. I really do like King. I think he's like legit. King and Queen, I think, are probably two of the most underrated legends in the game. They are absolutely nuts. I still really do rate them pretty highly. One thing about those two units that I really wish was better is their PvP aspect, because in PvP they're not that good, but in normal play they're actually very powerful units, and I do enjoy using them a lot. I think I'll leave the rest of these characters here. I'm probably going to bump Shirahoshi Mancherry up. I just adore this unit. I talk about her every month. Shirahoshi Mancherry is just so broken. Absolutely amazing character. I personally have Limit Broke expanded by one as well, just to get the additional cooldown. Well worth it. This character is a god. But then when you move up to tier 0, so this is like the big boy tiers right now. So in terms of the characters here, I don't think I want to make any changes. Like there's another characters in tier 1 that I want to bump up, but there's also another characters in tier 0 I want to bump down either. I want to keep all of them here because I do respect all of these characters. I think in terms of changing placements, I like Bon Clay a lot. Like a lot. I think Bon Clay is super underrated. I think Shanks versus Whitebeard is still very good. I haven't had the chance to use Kinemon and Denjiro in regular content as a captain yet. I don't have them, so I would love to get my hands on them at some point. But on paper, they do look like a very powerful unit. I have, obviously, Odin, and Odin has been a joy to use. He's been very, very nice. There have been aspects of the unit that I don't like, though, in the fact that when you first launch the special, you get color affinity, and then he says if you have color affinity, you get an attack boost instead. However, you do have to note, though, is that the buffed effect of like making your attack and all boosts of your free spirit characters get buffed, that actually does activate when you activate the attack boosting effect. So essentially, when you launch his special, I think if you already have color affinity, does he start at 2.5 attack or is it 2.25 times attack? Either way, he gets the buffed attack boost from his own special, which is really good, so do keep that in mind if you use him. Great super class special as well. I just cannot praise this unit enough. There are some slight structural things that I would change with him to make him like a perfect unit, and we can't go past his PvP stuff. Absolute god in Pyro Rumble. And then I think Ace and Akainu, like, I feel like if he's not in your top 5, he has to be like very close to it. Ace and Akainu is still phenomenal in so many different ways. The fact that you have access to Ace for Shooter and Free Spirit, and then Akainu for Driven and Powerhouse, you just can't go past them. They're just way too strong. So then we move on to top 5. We've got all the same characters once again. We've got Luffy and the Straw Hats. I still think they're the best legend in the game. But then everything below that, it really depends on you as a person and you as a player. Because, like, Toki, I think Toki is easily top 5, no doubt. I think Whitebeard Roger is still easily top 5, no doubt. But then, like, these three here with, like, Ace Akainu, Yamato, and then Roger, those three are, like, the ones that are, like, fighting for that top 5 spot. I think people may have other suggestions. Like, I think some people probably really like Ace and Sabo still. I mean, they've got really good stuff going on, but I really don't like the fact that they're such a rainbow-centered unit, and then their special is focused around Shooter and Free Spirit. Just really weird design for that character. Very good as a crewmate, though, still. I think some people still respect Shanks' crew, and you gotta respect what he can do, but his numbers are definitely faltering now. And then you got, like, Roger and Newgate, which is basically super ultra buffed version of Shanks' crew in a way. Obviously doesn't get rid of special bind as a captain, but they got some other utility effects, which is kind of nice with that unit. I really don't think I want to change any of these positions. V1 Roger I did actually use a little bit more than Yamato in the past month, but Yamato with Wano slots and bind removal is just crazy. I think I'm going to keep all of these positions here. Nothing really has changed. However, you know, moving into next month, you know, when we move into like the May section, the next tier list video that you guys see is going to be before the anniversary. It's going to be, you know, the end of April, the start of May. So we won't have the anniversary units yet. So the next month after that is going to be probably a big change up. I expect them to release pretty powerful units for the anniversary. So I'm very, very excited to see what they're even going to do for it. Like, who actually knows what the hell they're going to do? But I think it's about time we add some new units here. Alright, let's start adding some new characters. We're going to start off with Izo and Okiku, which came out during the Treasure Map Sugo Fest in the middle of March 2022. So they are a pretty cool unit, but they have a little bit of issues in my opinion. I feel like in my opinion, I do like them a little bit more than Carrot and Wanda, but I think personally I would still rather use Luffy, the Final Tap Luffy, over Izo and Okiku, just because I feel like Luffy is just an easier unit to use, easier to fulfill his super type condition. Though, you know, if you have some of the characters like Odin, Kinemon Denjiro, if you have like these two characters, they synergize very well with the Izo and Okiku character. But man, the fact that this character is shooter and slasher focused, kind of odd in terms of team building, and I mean, Mono Quick is still fine, but very odd structure, and their special is super bizarre as well. Like if you've got a certain amount of slashers, you get this orb change. If you have a certain amount of shooters, you get a different orb change. Really terrible design there. Their super type special is also pretty bizarre. They're like similar to Wanda and Kara in a way where like in certain aspects they can be pretty good, but if you look at the unit as a whole, there are some flaws, and you really just have to state it. This unit is not a well-designed unit. So I think for those reasons, I'm going to leave this character in tier 2. But then after that, we're going to get access to the brand new characters that came out, Franky and Brook. Now, these characters, when I first read them, I thought they were absolutely busted. But then after really having a look at them and seeing some footage of them, they're good, but they're not the characters that you're going to be going bankrupt in Rainbow Gems for, right? So let's start off with Franky. Franky has interesting mechanics, and I think Franky is going to be a character you really have to look out for in the future. I really do think that Franky is going to age very well, mainly due to the fact that he has a very interesting captain ability that can get rid of attack down and burn. I think that is just nuts. They have a very good special too that can get rid of poison, which can inherently allow you to get around poison slots, and we know poison slots are not very common, but if they ever come out in the future, Franky can be one of your go-to characters for that. So he removes poison, and then he gives an attack boost to certain classes, and then an orb boost to certain classes. This switch effect can also give you color affinity, so depending on the situation in your team build, you can literally get attack boost, color affinity, and an orb boost with one character, and that can be your dedicated friend captain too. So you can have all of that in your friend captain and dedicate your other crew spots to other things, and the fact that he is essentially a rainbow captain allows you for, you know, pretty good team building aspects. So for those reasons, I do think Franky is a tier 1 character. The real question is where do I personally rank the unit? Now, currently as it stands, I want to rank them relatively low in tier 1. I think I'm going to rank them around here where like Peruna is. Like I feel like Peruna probably has a little bit more use at the moment, but obviously throughout the month of April, we're going to see a lot of content that is catered towards Franky and Brook. So I know it's going to definitely promote them and make them look as good as possible, but if we look outside of the month of April, are they going to be good? I mean, I think they will be in certain aspects, but I don't think they're going to be the go-to character like Roger and Newgate, or Odin, or Kinemon and Denjiro, or Akainu, for example. I don't think they're going to be on that level, but they're going to have some really nice uses moving forward. And then we have V2 Brook. Now, personally, just a side note about Brook, I was really expecting them to release like a V2 Brook for the Halloween last year, and even like looking at it, potentially this year they could have done it, but no, they decided to do it in this random match right now, which is kind of cool because Brook definitely deserved a V2, and he is pretty good. He does have a little bit of similar flaws to like Crocodile, Doflamingo, and Katakuri, where they're super class units, but they only boost one class, and the problem with Brook is that he literally only boosts one class. You know, with Katakuri and Doflamingo and Croc, they did grant a huge boost to one of their classes, but then they still provided a minor boost, like a 3.75 or a 4 times boost to all other characters. And to my recollection, Brook doesn't do that. He only boosts Free Spirit characters. And I mean, if you're only going to boost one class, Free Spirit is a good class to boost. We can understand that. But Brook has a very, like, odd kit. I'd like his captain ability in that he can like protect you from defeat. I think that's a really cool mechanic and makes sense for the unit, and it's going to see some play for sure moving forward too, but I think definitely this Brook, the V1 Brook revive mechanic, is more valuable than protect from defeat. And the reason for that is because if you can revive, you can refresh your debuffs that have been inflicted to your crew. If you're just protecting from defeat, you're not removing any debuffs. So that is an inherent flaw, but obviously the balancing factor of that is that V1 Brook has an absolutely terrible multiplier, whereas Brook can reach very good multipliers. And I do think the special of Brook is interesting. The fact that you have to be below 30% to get all of the beneficial buffs of the unit. Don't know if I'm a big fan of that, because it is really promoting, you know, take a hit, get to 1 HP, and then launch your special, where I'm not really the biggest fan of that, honestly. I definitely would have preferred it if it was a little bit different. I don't really know what I would have done to make the character better. I don't have this unit, obviously, so I haven't had a chance to play around with it. But looking on paper where I would put it, I would also put it relatively high tier 2. I don't think this character is worth tier 1. I think this character is probably around Luffy tier as well, surprisingly enough. But I do think this character is like on the cusp of being a tier 1 type of character. I just don't think this character is quite there yet. Of course, I could be wrong, and we may make changes next month, but just looking on paper, not the biggest fan. And then we have the final character of the tier list, which is Eurog. Just such a bizarre decision to decide to make him the latest legend to release on PvP. This character is pretty odd. The fact that this character is built in such a way where they want you to tank hits, and if you tank hits, reduces his own cooldown, and his special ability automatically launching after you take 30,000 damage, like, makes sense, kind of similar to the blue Kaido right here. If you take 10,000 damage, automatically launches his special. This character has that, but the thing about it is his special is really not as good as Kaido's, at least in my opinion. It does provide utility, 5-turn paralysis removal. He gives you a chain lock as well. He gives cooldown reduction. Like, he's alright, but he's nothing to really write home about. If I had to rank him, I mean, like, he is a mono powerhouse captain once again, similar to Katakuri, but I think Katakuri has a lot of other beneficial effects that, you know, Eurog doesn't have. The fact that Katakuri can heal and he has a superclass special to provide, you know, orb changing mechanics, and he's an attack booster or an orb booster, and that's the thing about Eurog. He doesn't have a super type, he doesn't have a superclass, he doesn't have a captain action. So that's a huge drawback to just these PvP characters in general, and why they're not as good as some of the other characters that we see in the game in these days and age. So for that reason, I do think I'm going to rank him in this tier 3 here. As for where I would rank his position, I mean, he is a mono powerhouse character, so that has some advantages. Not as big as some other characters in this tier though. I think he's probably like around here, to be honest. Like, I think Katakuri has more uses. I think I'd rank him near the bottom of tier 3, honestly. Like, characters like NL, they have speed farming capabilities, which is kind of nice, but Eurog doesn't really have that, honestly. He doesn't really provide that much to your team, and he doesn't even have the crewmate ability to resist special reverse, to use his special to reduce your other character's cooldowns, so that also is a pretty big drawback to the unit. Of course, this is not a PvP tier list, but if he was, you know, in a PvP tier list, he'd rank a lot higher than where he is right now. But unfortunately, not really the greatest character. But I'm really hoping that in the month of April, and then obviously moving into the month of May, we get slightly more powerful characters, because they've been very tame with releasing characters in 2022. Obviously, the New Year's characters, insanely broken, but all the other characters they've released since then, they've been like on the cusp of being alright, or on the cusp of being broken, but they definitely hold it back. And I can understand that, because I feel like they're probably going to hold out until Super Sugo Fest, and that's when they're going to go crazy. So these are my thoughts and opinions on where I'm going to be ranking the legends this month. We may have to make some changes to dilute the pools of some of these tiers here, but as it stands right now, this is where I'm leaving it. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video today. And if you guys did enjoy the video, make sure you go ahead and leave a like. And if you want to stay up to date with all the content that I post, including more One Piece Treasure Cruise content, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below. But on that, guys, I'll see you guys within the next video.